everybody, my name is Dr. Bliss. I'm the Director of Percussion Studies here at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, and we're so glad you joined us for the UT Percussion Podcast, Senior Clinic Edition. We are going to be filming some small podcasts over the next couple of weeks here in November of 2012, as a lot of you students are getting ready to take the WTS, MTS, and ETSBOA senior clinic auditions, and we thought we'd pitch in and see if we could help out. So these podcasts will be performed by several of my students along with myself, and we'll be working together to try to give you some helpful hints and tips as you prepare for your auditions upcoming in the next several weeks and months. So please note that we don't think that our interpretation of these pieces is the only way to do these. So if you have gotten instruction otherwise, certainly listen to your teachers and all of those good things. But we do want to give you some feedback, especially for those of you students who are in more remote locations throughout the state of Tennessee and possibly don't have a private instructor available. We thought, why not use the internet to share some of the things that we do here at UT. So we hope you enjoy these. We'll be doing MTSBOA excerpts this week and then releasing the others very shortly after. You're always welcome to email me here at the university. My name, again, is Andy Bliss. My email is abliss@utk.edu, and you can find the UT Percussion Studio on Facebook if you search UT Percussion, and our Twitter handle is @UT Percussion. So best of luck to you in your audition, and we hope you take something enjoyable from this series of podcasts. Have a great day. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the UT Percussion Podcast. We're here doing the MTSBOA Senior Clinic Etudes for 2012, and this is of course the snare drum portion. I'm here with Daniel Arnowski, one of my graduate students here at UT, all the way from Buffalo, New York, and he's worked up some of the snare drum etude to discuss with us a little bit in terms of how he's prepared it and maybe some tips that might help you guys. So how's it going, Dan?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Ready to go home and get some dinner.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us some of the things that you found important when you were working this etude up prior to the recording today?
Sure. The first thing I noticed was all the dynamics that we have. So to help us with that, with the snare drum, I think it's very important to set it up the right way. If you look at the bottom of the drum, you see the snares. Notice they're running up and down. So when the snare's this way, they run away from you. We don't want to set it this way so that the drums are running across your body. Okay, and what happens is, if the drum is this way, when you move to the edge to play quiet, you're still playing over the snares, so you get a good sound. If it were this way, you'd be playing on the head, and the snares wouldn't get a very good sound. So when you set it up, make sure the snares are this way. Okay, that'll help a lot with the dynamics.
Yeah, that's definitely very helpful, especially as we get to the soft end of the dynamics. A lot of the higher end snare drums that are made these days, also you'll notice Dan's drum has 3 different types of snares on it. If you can get your hands on one of those, that's best. We realize that's not always possible, and in the instance that it's not, you at least want to make sure that the snares are running away from your belt buckle, so that as you potentially move to the edge of the drum to play softer dynamics, that you're playing right over the snares and you get that really crisp snare response that you heard in his performance of the piece. So good. What else?
Another challenge for this one is the rolls. because they're happening in all kinds of dynamics. And you'll notice that the rolls are separated. There's not really a tie between the rolls, especially in the third bar of the first line. Those rolls aren't tied together, so we need to let them breathe. We need to let them separate. So that's kind of a challenge. We need to decide what works best for us as far as our sticking and when we're going to lift. So we can release that first roll of that measure a little bit early to make sure our next roll comes in right on beat 3. Stuff that's really challenging. So.
Yeah, and one of the interpretational things that students will have to decide is whether or not, typically when we don't tie a roll, like in measure 3, from beats 1 to 3, you'll end the last note, like Dan said, leave some space before beat 3, but you'll also end on a buzz so that it just sounds like the roll sort of is a very full sound and then it stops. If you end with just a tap as opposed to a buzz, it sounds like there's an articulation on the release. So think about really moving hand to hand and end on the buzz and then re-articulate. Also notice that there's not an accent on any of those notes. The tendency is always to really attack the beginning of all the rolls. You want to think of it as like somebody turning a switch on and then the sound, sort of like in Ace Ventura when he opens the door and the sound comes through. That's what we want from our rolls. Yeah, see, there you go. So that's what we want in our roll sound. We want the door to open and we just want the sound to come in. We don't want any kind of an attack at the beginning or the end unless we have an accent mark. Cool. So the roll sounded great. What else?
Talking about the attack, a good way that I've found to make sure we don't get an attack is to make sure that the second stroke of your roll is almost the most important. And if you listen, I'll play a few examples, and I'm going to really attack just the first stroke and then start crescendoing right away, and I'll play it a second time, and I'll attack the second note just as much, if not more almost, than our very first attack to make sure we don't have an attack sound. Okay, so here's just a roll out of context of the piece, okay, and it's going to have a little bit of an attack on it. So you'll notice my right hand super high and my left hand pretty low. Now I'm going to start, and you'll notice my left hand's going to come up as high as my right hand, and we'll kind of get rid of that heavy accent sound, okay? So make sure you think about that second stroke a lot, and that'll help you clean up the accent in the first part of the roll.
Yeah, and this actually applies a lot over to timpani. When we talk about timpani rolls around here at UT, we talk a lot about throwing that left hand behind the right so we don't get that same punch on timpani. So a lot of these things apply to other instruments. Good. What were some other problem spots, maybe some things you had to work through when you were working this up?
Another difficult spot, if you want to look in your music, count with me the 1, 2, 3, the fourth line down, the measure with a B, the third measure of the fourth line. Measure B there has some 30-second note rests. A good way to make sure you hit those rests, they're kind of quick and they're kind of awkward. Drummers like playing on the beat every time and they kind of don't let you do that there. A good thing that I like to do is I breathe on rests like that. Every other instrumentalist breathes, and it's good for us to do it too. Sometimes, we might just pass out if we don't. So breathe on rests like that. Another measure to do that is the third measure of B, okay? And that's going to be the fifth line down, the very first measure. That's another good spot to breathe on that rest. And also another good spot to release your roll with a buzz. No attack, and the only attack in that measure are the 2 notated 16th notes.
Yep, so both those, at a rehearsal B, line 4, measure 3, you've got a quarter note, and then you've got 4 16th notes. The first one is a rest, the second one has the diddle, the third one is a 16th, and the fourth one is another 16th note rest. So make sure that you really count those out so that you know that you play on E and of beats 2 and 4 at rehearsal B. Then going down to line 5, you have a quarter note roll, again not tied, so we break, and then we have a 16th note rest right on beats 2 and 4, and then you play a 16th note on the E. So we want to really feel the rest kind of in your gut, just like you were going to play it, so that you can place the E right where it should go. So, good. Any last thoughts about this etude for the students out there?
I think the only other spot that gave me a problem when I first looked at it was, if you want to look in your music with me here, we're counting down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th line, the very last measure. We have a roll that's tied, okay? It starts on the and then it ties all the way to the downbeat of beat 3.
On the and, yeah. And of 1.
Yeah, sorry, the and of 1. that's difficult because we got to make sure that we know what hand we're going to start with and how we meter our rolls, which metering means we move our hands in a 16th pattern or a triplet pattern. So something I like to do is I actually drew a line right over beat 2 so that I know that that's where the beat is. And I almost kind of have a feel of a re-attack on beat 2, but it's not heard, it's just something you have to feel inside to make sure that roll length is the proper length. That was the last thing that was kind of tricky in this solo for me.
Good. So we hope some of this stuff helps you out today. We've enjoyed putting these podcasts together. As we mentioned in the keyboard podcast, we'll have one more coming at you probably after the weekend on the MTSBOA timpani etudes, and then we will also be releasing the WTS and ETS. So thank you very much to Dan for getting this together for us here at the University of Tennessee. We always welcome any visitors. If you're interested in visiting campus, you can email me at abliss@utk.edu, and we wish you the best of luck in your auditions. Have a great day. Thanks.